Okay, guys, so I am super excited today because I am joined with literally one of my favourite people in the world, and that is Steve Timmis. Now, Steve runs an awesome accountancy practice. Doesn't really do you justice, Steve, but I'm going to box you in there for now, and we're going to talk through today like how different you are from anything else that you've seen before. So today, guys, we're joined with Steve. Steve, how are you doing? Can you hear me okay?
I'm great, Charlie. Thank you very much.
Steve, it's really good to have you on this call today, mate. And I'm hoping, and sort of like over the next 20 minutes or so, we can give some really cool insight to the other people that might be listening and running and growing and scaling businesses. Other men, I guess, like you and I, that have got families at home and trying to juggle this whole fucking thing, which is going to be cool. So, Steve, how about we kick this thing off, my friend? If you talk through who you are and sort of like your journey, what you've been on, and just a brief background, I suppose, and everything that you've been through up to this stage.
Okay, so my name's Steve Timmis. I'm founder and MD of Sempra Accountancy and Tax. We started Sempra back in March 16. My background before then is I'd worked in a number of sort of accountancy firms, all the way from sort of junior through to sort of director. And I always had a vision that I would start my own firm one day. And March 16, that's what we did. We left the firm. I left the firm that I was with, took one of my team with me, and we started Sempra Accountancy and Tax. We always had, and I guess the reason why we never evolved, I guess, in another firm was purely because the passion we have for what we do as a business and what we try and do for clients and add value and doing the right thing. Not many other practices perhaps have that at this. It's very much that some of that is down to perhaps having a legacy of clients and having that business now that's too big to change.
Yeah.
And as the world changes, adopting new technology is more difficult when you've got perhaps 50 staff and a bigger client basis. So we took the opportunity to set Sempra up and keep it flexible, because we knew the landscape's always going to change.
Yeah.
So we've got a great young team here now, and they have that sort of ability to sort of flex and change as technology changes. So even the 3 years that we've ran Sempra, the evolution of technology and software that we use is just changed from day one to now. It is really radical, and we've always tried to stay on the sort of cusp of that. I always think that if you win the technology battle, you'll win the battle. It's really important. So we've always tried to keep that really. But we've grown. So in those 3 years, we've grown from me and Eludia, who was my member of staff that we started the business with, and through to now we've just recruited our 11th member of the team. And in that time we've grown. Yeah, we've grown turnover from 80k to a run rate now of over £500,000. So in a sort of professional services firm, that's sort of meteoric growth.
It's incredible growth. Not only just in terms of like turnover, Steve, but like staff that you brought on board and how that's happened. It's. I mean, talk me through, Steve, because that's quite a daunting process, isn't it? Going from like standing still in terms of being like, right, I'm going to leave the firm that I'm with. I'm going to take this leap. What was sort of like, I guess, your mindset to be like, right, fuck it, I need to do this thing on my own and build it my way. And then how did you start thinking, right, we need to start bringing people on board. I need the support team around me. Like talk, because I think that's like it's a huge decision, that, Steve, and you've just like ran with it. How did you make those choices?
So in terms of the decision to go on my own, that was really easy in the end. It probably 2 or 3 years deliberating over it, but I sat down and had some coaching about where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, and the coach made me identify, I guess, what success looked like for me and success looked like from a business perspective. So we drew out this sort of picture of what the business looked like and what it did for me and what it had internally in terms of a team and what that team were sort of proud of and what the client facing element looked like. And then, he just asked me a simple question. We got this big picture on the wall, and he said, well, so the people you work with at the moment, are they going to take you closer to that or further away?
Yeah.
And the answer was simple. It was further away. So it was really easy. You just wrote leave.
Yeah.
So it was, in the end, it was the easiest decision you made. So you knew that you had to leave. So then it was, okay, you've just painted your picture, so go and make it.
Yeah.
go and make it happen. So that's what we did. And I guess the recruitment side of things is a tricky one, really. I think in my day-to-day, I often see sort of startup businesses who struggle to make that decision, and they perhaps one or two directors to start a business
Yeah.
off, they get it to the point in which perhaps it feeds their lifestyle, and it just constantly earns enough money to pay them their sort of their quality of life money,
Yeah.
and then making an employee decision, inviting somebody in who you trust, and you're going to let see data and everything else, and all those sort of hard decisions they make, they really struggle to make. And
Yeah.
then you sort of, I think one of the elements is you have to identify the risk. And the risk is that if you do it, you can grow really quickly, and you will find the other work, and you will release you to go and get the sales in.
Yeah.
The worst case is that you can just step back and go back to where you were before.
Yeah.
So I think people think it's a massively risky operation to do that and to take somebody on. But the reality is that, if worst case they're not the right person, you just go back to where you were.
Yeah.
And so it's not actually that bigger step than people think. And once you've made it once, the next time you do it's even easier. And you get to a point where you probably don't think about it as much as you would do on the first time. So we're now on our sort of 11th employee. We just recognise we needed somebody. So
Yeah.
it was going, and we don't think about should we or shouldn't we and everything else. Yes, you need to do your sort of forecasting and your planning from that perspective. But the reality is the other thing that comes into play, and what we have done, is we've absolutely just took good people when they become available, even if we didn't need them at the time. So we've
Yeah.
had 2 or 3 recruitments where people have just fell in our lap, I guess. And it's probably, you could argue from a work point of view or even a money point of view, that perhaps is not the right time, but good people don't come along very often.
Yeah.
And they certainly don't fall in lap very often. So, we just made that work.
And how have you found it? Is that what you've looked for, Steve? You've been like, right, I'm going to get the good people on, or I'm going to bring people on and train them up that you can mold, or have you found something like an in-between, or as you've scaled this thing so fast, have you found like a good formula for you guys in terms of what that ideal person is and sort of skill level and all that sort of stuff?
It's definitely a hybrid of all of that, really. So, we've took some young people on, we've took an apprentice on, and some our sort of age of our team is anything from 19 to sort of 52.
Wow.
But what we've tried to keep, and sort of the way we recruit is we always recruit on enthusiasm.
Oh,
So
nice.
enthusiasm is a massive value to us. It's one of our key values in our team. We want our clients to see that our team are enthusiastic about their business.
Yeah.
So look for that as a core quality. So even if we're looking at the sort of lower level, then we make sure that that's in place. Enthusiasm, application, attitude, those 3 things really, if they've got that, then we can make that work for us and them. As we get sort of down the line of our recruitment, so we've recruited some senior positions as well. And then it is more about a technical ability and a management ability as well. That all comes into play. But what we're looking for is that sort of young at heart enthusiasm that's a core skill that we have to have it. And it's something that you sort of, I think, without it, if someone hasn't got it, it's kind of no use to a certain degree, because you constantly have to motivate that individual.
Yeah.
It soaks up management time, whereas our whole team are completely self-motivated, and that makes managing them really easy and actually enjoyable. So it is something that we really, really look for. Having that blend then of sort of experience and sort of inexperience actually creates new energies. So Andrea, who we took in October, is absolutely motivated by the fact that we're so ahead on technology. So she's come in and actually finds it really refreshing, and she doesn't see it as a concern, because obviously she's come from perhaps a different background, but actually one that didn't move forward. So she now embraces that and says, well, this is amazing. I'm really happy. Yes, I'm learning new things, but I didn't expect to be doing this, but actually I really enjoy it, and it creates enthusiasm there. So we really, really try and push that when we're trying to recruit, is find the people who are going to be easy to manage, are going to try and take our business forward. Because I'm not in the office every day, and you want everybody to answer the phone and speak to clients and meet
Yeah.
the clients in the way you'd expect, as if you would then. If you've got that enthusiasm, then they're all going to do that, and they're all going to look for new way. You know, they're often coming to me with new ways of how we can do different things. This is an improvement. So it's all fantastic, really.
Well, it's awesome that, isn't it? Because it's incredible how that once you've got that energy in place, not only it rubs off internally on the team, but it rubs off on customers as well, doesn't it? Or clients when they're picking up the phone. And happy people tend to make happy people who make happy people who make happy people, which is it's an awesome way to bring people on board there, Steve, which is really, really cool.
I don't know whether you've read Nunn's book.
Yes, yeah, I have.
And that's something I got out of that, is that if you talk to somebody and you ask them how they are and you engage them, they'll actually engage you back, and they'll actually ask you those questions. And if you're answering that and someone's taking interest in you, you feel better, they feel better, and ultimately you have a better rapport. Which is, we talk to the team about stuff like that, and they do take it on.
It's what it's all about, isn't it? Rapport, connection, human relationships, and all that sort of stuff. And what I want to talk about here, Steve, as well, because what was really interesting, you mentioned right at the start there when you were introducing yourself about technology, and in terms of how perhaps, let's call it other, not just accounting firms, but let's call them like professional service firms, have been long in the tooth. They've been around for so long. They've got big employees. I mean, in terms of your ability to scale so fast, and I guess where like, let's call it like the accounting market, it's sort of being forced to embrace technology rather than to be like, right, we're going to be at the forefront of it and take it forward. How much impact has that had on you guys to have the technology in place? And do you think if you didn't have that technology there, would that mean that you'd be slower because you'd have to have more people on board? Or talk us through how much impact like the technology's had on you guys moving and scaling so quickly.
So one big thing is that we've certainly regionally been sort of now known for is our technology. So we're getting clients being recommended to us or coming to us from either from within our client bank or externally, really because we've got the cloud knowledge, and they're perhaps butting heads with their current accountant because they're not getting the right answers. But what we have done is we invested a lot of time. So Ludia, 2 or 3 years ago now, we pulled her out of client servicing.
Yeah.
We spent a huge amount of time just basically investing in. We were already using Xero and we were already doing cloud stuff at the time, but we saw this as being a real sort of something we needed to really just amplify and get going with a lot quicker. So she physically for 2 years has spent nearly 100% of her time on cloud operations and investing time in setting up. So we've got a system now with clients where we just plug a client in and we can create a kind of, I guess, a financial function for them that's outsourced to us really quickly, really easy. And they can go and focus on growing their business. And that's what we really that's what clients want from us, is that kind of, let us focus on growing the business. You focus on our finance function together. And then we'll bring that together, and through reporting and other things that we do, we can help you grow the business, help you make sensible decisions. But absolutely, the directors that are focusing fully on taking that business forward rather than sitting at night and tapping into Sage or different things. And we through what we've done in that system, we've created fantastic automation, which means, a reasonable £500,000 client we perhaps spend half a day a week on in terms of the practice, but we can really then that's keeping their full function sort of rolling on week to week, live data in there. And so that means the client finds that the in a comparison to, say, hiring a bookkeeper, which what they would have done in the past, and that bookkeeper would have took 10 hours a week. We're doing that in this through our automation. We're doing that in now half an hour to an hour a week.
Amazing.
Which makes the cost more efficient for the clients. But also it makes it efficient for us, because then our staff can manage 50 clients. It's not a big deal then. So it means our breadth of business can grow. And in the past, accountants have always probably took the view that they don't want to get involved in bookkeeping. Well, we don't really think it's bookkeeping anymore. We think it's just a process that is as automated as possible, and just needs somebody just at the helm to make sure it's ticking over and working. So we're really happy to get involved in that, and it adds massive value to the client. what we started to do then is bolt on for that in terms of the function. We're now bolting on some clever reporting, actually plugging the directors into dashboards and other reports so that they can just plug into that dashboard and manage their business from one screen rather than having to delve into Zero to get all the answers.
Well, that's amazing, Steve. I know when we caught up in the week, you were walking me through some of that. Which again, it's as someone that's running a business, it's so hard sometimes. Like you take, let's call it like that typical approach where you might see your accountant begrudgingly every 9 months or whatever it might be, a bit of pre-tax planning. And now with the technology that's available out there for people that are growing and scaling a business, that you can literally have like your pulse in terms of the numbers on like an hourly, almost up to a second type basis. You can have that on a dashboard, and you can then, I guess, as that business owner, make those right strategic decisions to push it forward or to focus where you need to focus, but you're basing that on data and fact rather than sort of like the gut. And then I guess from a business owner's perspective, you've got that support from an accountant there that really understands what's happening in the business because you guys are part of it. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of that data, that's live data. So you're not making decisions based on data that's 6 months old, that you're keeping the client, and this is the biggest part of it, is you're keeping the client focused on today and the next 3 months rather than sitting down with a client at December and reviewing March's information. And the reality is it's irrelevant. All the client really wants to know at that stage is what's my tax bill because it's due in a couple of days' time. What we're trying to do is say, the compliance stuff is just going to be a wheel that keeps turning. But we're not with it because we've already talked to you about that prior to compliance routine. That the reality is the value is in the daily data that's available to you, the reporting from that, and the decisions you can make to advance your business. That's where that's where the value is. And so we sort of focus on that kind of data through to reporting, through to advice. We take compliance very seriously, but it isn't what the client values at the end of the day. So it's that philosophy is that's one of the things that's created our success, really.
Well, it's really cool, Steve. As I said, when people go left and everyone goes right, it gives you that real differentiator. And I guess sort of like tying into that sort of like that whole fast growth thing and how you have grown so quickly. I mean, you're like a family man as well, Steve, with 2 daughters there. I mean, how have you over the last three years as you've taken this thing from sort of like where it was to now sort of like 11 staff, how have you managed to balance everything else that goes to sort of like being a husband, being a father, being the sort of like the front face of the business? How have you juggled that? Have there been any struggles? And talk us through that.
Well, if I go back probably a couple of years before starting the business, I mean, as I entered sort of senior management in the other firms I was with, very much, the hours that you worked increased, and it's probably inconceivable that at probably any time during that period I was doing about 80, 90 hours a week.
Wow.
So, sort of not achieving from a family perspective, not being there for Claire, not being there for the children. So, the starting Sempra was a bit of a sort of a reach out for as much as it was the right thing for me to do. Is also something where you're trying to take control back. Ultimately, nothing ever is achieved without hard work. So Sempra for the first couple of years certainly was a bit more some of the same, but knowing that we were always working towards this kind of time goal and everything else. And I'd say really only just in the last sort of 6 months are we seeing that achieved, but that is largely due to all the automation that we've put in the business. It's largely due to the people we've brought in and the success of those people that are now giving me that time back. So, we're now working probably a 40-hour week, seeing the kids at night and at weekends. So it's massive. And anybody else in that situation is sometimes always dealt with everything in the past by just saying, well, we'll just work harder. If we're not achieving, let's work harder. If something's not done, you've just got to get it done. And we've always had that sort of ethic and work ethic there, which is fantastic. And it does buy you. It buys you praise. It buys you clients, and everybody's the client doesn't want to see you working at 12 o'clock at night, but at the same time he does if it's on his stuff.
Yeah.
Ultimately, so people give you gratitude, but then they'll also say, well, I noticed you were working at 12 o'clock at night, you shouldn't be doing that, and things
Yeah.
like that. Ultimately, we are where we are because we did, and
Yeah.
so we're proud of the fact that me and the team had that ethic at the time. But now what we've built is a business that doesn't require anyone to do apologies. So what? So basically, we are where we are because of that. But the
Yeah.
reality is that now what we're doing is thinking so much smarter about our business and creating efficiencies and creating automation has given us the ability to sort of buy time back. So we've got a really sort of efficient ship now, and that's only getting more and more efficient. So, and what efficiency gives us is profit. So the more
Yes.
efficient we are, the more automated we are, the more profitable ultimately we are. And it's our investment in that efficiency and automation that will be our sort of success factor really going forward, because by doing that, we're creating more time within the team. We're not
Yeah.
needing to expand the team as fast as we did before, but our client creation is still quite high.
Yeah.
So maybe now we need to advance another person every 50 clients, whereas before maybe that was every 25 clients. So that absolutely is going to make us more profitable. One thing we're really proud of is our culture. So learning from whether they're mistakes or just life experiences, but learning from those experiences I went through, in terms of, for argument's sake, Rosie was sort of my two, well, she's now 5,
Yeah.
but when she was 2, didn't really recognise me as her dad, which is like amazing. It was a real sort of turning point for me in terms of which plan we were going on and where we were heading. But I just wasn't there. I was just, leaving the house before she got up, getting in when she was in bed, working weekends. So, she was just naturally not recognising me as a person in her life, and that was really hard to swallow.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can either stand still and accept it and try and make it better, or you do nothing about it. And we took the view that we went forward and did something about it, and that relationship now is back on track, which is
That's awesome.
amazing and fantastic. And she's a brilliant little girl. But like, at the same time, we learn from that and say, right, well, how do we make our staff lives better? How
Yeah.
do we treat staff better so that they have choices and things? So our culture is huge, and our staff are as much of a priority in our life as our clients. And we create an environment for them so that they get paid a lot more than what they would do if they're working somewhere else. So from a sort of money perspective, everything's ticked off. But more than that, it's very much about creating sort of. So even James at 19's got full healthcare. If he has any issues, he deal with them and look after him. So, and that's across the board in terms of team. We encourage them to go to the gym. We encourage healthy living really.
Yeah.
So it's trying to do that as much as we can, as well as sort of creating a culture where there's a bit of fun as well. So staff birthday off. So when their birthday comes up, they have a day off. We buy them an experience voucher that can be like anything really, from jumping out of a plane to going to a vineyard or something like that.
Ooh, nice.
We just try and use it to broaden their horizons. So there's other things out there. So if they really love spa days, then we put them on a plane. And
that's where I'm at, Steve. Get me a facial and we're away at the race.
It's just stuff like that that makes it a bit of fun, and we really celebrate with the team. And the team, the one thing we really do as well is that we share all the information that we have on the business with all the team, so that there's no boundaries, and the team can go and find out what money we make, what money I take home, what we pay everybody. I really believe in the fact that if we have no boundaries, then there's no uncertainty.
Yeah.
I've worked in firms before where you knew nothing, and all that does is create huge uncertainty, and it creates this underlying kind of separation between the management or the directors and the staff can find out anything, and if they can't find something out, they can ask, and they'll get the answer. So what that means is, quite happy to tell people what other people earn, and if they want to improve their own salary, we put a mechanism into it for them to do that. But it really, everyone judges on their own merits really. So it does create a togetherness that we think is unique. So definitely.
And what I really like about that, Steve, I mean, in terms of the happiness with the team and the culture that you've put in there, I think you shared it might have been at the think tank meeting with the other guys before Christmas. You were talking around how there were some customers or clients of yours that not were taking the piss, that were slow, that weren't necessarily dealing with the staff in the right way. And rather than thinking about, cool, actually, I'm going to keep taking the money, you're actually thinking putting the staff first. And it got to a situation where you sacked like a load of customers. I'm a big believer in terms of like, get rid of all the dickheads. It ain't worth it. But talk us, that's a big leap to take though, isn't it? In terms of being like, actually, I'm willing to sacrifice the business because I know there's a greater good here. So talk us through that mindset, Steve, in terms of how you're like, actually, fuck it. These people, I know they're customers and they're giving us money and we want to help. If they're not going to play by our rules, then fuck it. It's not worth it.
Yeah, so absolutely. Someone, I can't remember who it was, but I always remember the line that someone always said to me is, the true secret of success in accountancy is the point in which you can choose your own customers.
Yeah.
And I think we absolutely got there last year. And what we had was there's a number of customers that were, not giving us information when we needed it, which meant the team was chasing, 4, 5, 6 times a month for information.
Yeah.
And lots of other characteristic traits like that, where actually what you were finding was the client was actually demotivating the team.
Yeah.
And we just took the view that if those clients, the amount of time we put into chasing them, and they're not really appreciative of what we were doing because they're not really on board successfully, they've not ever truly engaged because of their own character traits, and the fact is that they're not perhaps listening. And we looked at that and just said, do you know what? There's 5 or 6 clients here that maybe net quite a decent sum of money, but if you put the fee to one side, they're truly demotivating our team, and our team are really important. So we just took the view to disengage with those clients. What we found was some of those clients didn't want to disengage. We give them a period of time to improve, which never happened, because at the base of this is their own character flaws.
Yeah.
So we ultimately disengaged with all of them, and actually what we saw was the team felt completely empowered by that decision to do that. And we were ultimately wasting time. We were wasting time on those clients that we can spend on better clients. So, and I always think there's believe in a little bit of a greater good, or a bit of fate, I guess. And I always think that when you make a good decision, someone somewhere makes things happen for you
I'm with you.
that makes you believe that decision was the right thing to do. So what happened was we got rid of about 6 or 7 clients, and we quite quickly got about 10 clients back. So 10 clients that were brand new to us, who were really engaging and really, vital clients who we wanted. Absolutely just fell on our lap out of nowhere. So, and look, it's for we were doing the right thing, and but it just I think it just concretes and solidifies what you've done as a decision, and go, actually, really the right thing to do. And now looking forward, we wouldn't hesitate to do it in the future. So if we felt like we had a relationship like that, or that we would deal with that relationship immediately, whereas probably 2 years ago, we would accept all their all the side of that client just because you need the money to pay the staff. Whereas now we've grown beyond that we can make those decisions, and it does give us a true sense of feeling successful, where you can tell somebody that you don't want to work with them.
And it's like really allowing you to take back control, isn't it? In terms of being like, this is I set this thing up to order to run it the way I wanted to run it, and not to be controlled by other people. It's really, really cool to be able to get to that point. And sometimes you say it's incredible how things work out, that when you make that decision to get, whether it's customers, whether it's clients, that you remove them out, how quick actually the other things just seem to come to you, but they come under the right circumstances, which is absolutely amazing. What I want to quickly touch on. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, part of the enjoyment of doing our job and doing what we do is working with the right people.
Yeah.
And really critical that we continue to work with the right people. And I always feel far more empowered and far better about what I do when we're doing that. And you almost feel the other way when you're working with somebody, albeit you can add massive value.
Yeah.
Report, it doesn't feel the same way. It definitely doesn't feel the same way.
It's really interesting how that goes, and it's very empowering as well, isn't it, to be able to be like, you know what, fuck it, we don't want to, we don't want to work with you, and we can make something go. It's very, very cool. In terms of, you mentioned at
It
the
also
start there,
buys
Steve.
you, sorry, mate. It also buys you respect from your team.
I
Your
agree.
team feels dealing with stuff, and like the worst thing you can do with a team is not deal with something that's obviously annoying them. And so, I found that, although the team always, I think always, I had their respect. Certainly, that went up a notch when you start to make decisions that benefit them.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
again, it all gets passed on, doesn't it, and filters down, and that energy goes in all the right ways. And I want to come back quickly, Steve. I know, like me, you're a huge sports fan, and we have loads of conversations, different sporting books that we've read, and how that applies, which is amazing. And you mentioned at the very start when you were talking about making that leap for setting Sempra up, that you had a coach at the time, and you wrote some stuff down. I mean, in terms of your mindset, like not just from like a sporting background, but when it comes to business, how important is it for you, do you think, for business owners to have other people around them that are there to support them and that they can lean on and get advice from and that sort of stuff? Is that something that you've found empowering over the last 3 years with Sempra, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think more than empowering, it's imperative as a business owner, especially a business owner when you're the sole director in a business and you have got that perhaps 2 or 3 other directors that you can bounce ideas off. From keeping. You can get into sort of dark tunnels on your own, and I think it's especially if you hit perhaps rocky times, and
Yeah.
each discipline becomes really more valuable. It's hugely important. So I have a mentor, probably is a better word than a coach, but
Yeah.
certainly a mentor who we have probably a monthly call with. Just keep things on track, keep it focused. Ultimately, it's about you, not the business,
Yeah.
and that's what I've learned through that coaching, is that the business is just a pawn in my life to give me what my outcome or
Yeah.
what I want in life, and I've learned that probably more so in the last 12 months than I have before then. So the business was always my priority, because I used to think, well, the business feeds my personal life
Yeah.
in the past, and the business was my life really,
Yeah.
because that's all I focused on, all I did. Once you start to see past the business and it's about achieving your personal goals, and then you analyze where the business fits into that and how it achieves that, it's a completely different cat of the fish, and you see the business completely differently. And I think we were talking the other day about, you see things that come across you that you think, well, that's fantastic, that's going to give me so much revenue.
Yeah.
It takes you away from where you want to be as an individual, and ultimately you don't want to do that, because that's not taking you closer to your goals, that's taking you further away. So having that sort of person from a personal point of view that also understands the business is really important. I think as well, the availability of content is just amazing these days. So, YouTube, podcasts, all
Yeah.
those sorts of things. This it's fantastic, and I think also that people today are quite happy to share their experiences with
Yeah.
people. So people ask, successful directors, they've got time for each other, and they like to empower other people. So I think there's a lot of that now, and I think if people ask for help, they'll usually get it. But certainly, listening to coaches online, and just taking in input and sifting that input to say, okay, does that affect me? Do I need to listen to that?
Yeah.
But certainly, and the sport analogies are brilliant, because when people are in sport, they're trying to reach the top, the Everest, the
Yes.
pinnacle, and ultimately that's what we're trying to do in business. So that the analogy is there, and I think what it helps you do is, because we all understand sport very easily, it helps you understand the business philosophy that's in the message,
Yeah.
because the sport philosophy. And I think, and also, it's always great to read about success and everything else. So,
Yeah.
Clive Woodward's book stands out as a bit of a business book that's related to sport that I've read and still pick things from today. But in terms of there's a book called The Score Takes Care of Itself, and that's a fantastic leadership book.
Yeah.
The old coach of the San Francisco 49ers, and that's a brilliant book. He talks about his standard of performance, and he has this kind of standard of performance that if something goes wrong, he just goes back to it and he adjusts it, and then reaffirms it with his team, and everybody in the team is as important as anybody else. So your receptionist is just as important as your quarterback. And that's it's a little bits of each thing that you listen to, you take and you mold together, and then having that external person that you talk to helps you decipher whether they're the right things to bring in or not, and you end up with a blend of all these fantastic people who've done fantastic things, and ultimately hopefully you create your own message and your own sort of philosophy going forward. But I think also having the philosophy that you don't know everything, and every day is a school day, isn't it? Every day you can learn something new and take something on. I mean, I went to the Business Awards yesterday at Staffordshire, so Sentinel Business Awards. There's a business there that I thought our culture was fantastic. I saw this business win 3 awards. They had the whole team there, and the excitement and the pleasure out of that award was amazing. And they do things like they each get a day a year, and on that day they come into work and it's their fancy dress day. Just really random stuff like that. But you can see how it's created this team environment that's so tightly knitted together. And there's a few other things that they sort of make their team the real centre of their business, and their message and vision is all about their team, and it's actually not necessarily about their customer. And because they've got just such a high performing team that the customer gets the service anyway. You're almost there. The message to customers are irrelevant because the team is that high performing that they're listening and talking to them afterwards and speaking to the directors, you can always learn. You can always think, oh, actually, that how did you come up with that? It was just some brainstorming idea. Not read any books. It was just something they thought of and something they wanted to do that was unique.
Which is why, I mean, I love, whenever we get together, Steve, think tank with like the other guys in sort of like the fellowship here, which is, again, I think why that is such a valuable experience to take, like you said, in terms of being able to take the insight and the knowledge of 20, 25 other business owners that can sit there, that understand what it's like trying to juggle all this stuff, and to take the pieces of advice. And at the same time, there's other people there that might not necessarily, that have got like an internal team, and to then have that team around you, it sort of like spurs you on, doesn't it? And it gives you that motivation, the energy, and to be able to see what other people are doing. Sometimes I think you can get fogged, can't you, down by your own industry in terms of like, this is what all other accountants are doing, or this is what other lawyers are doing, or this is what other plumbers are doing, or other e-com businesses are doing. And to be like, well, holy shit, there's these guys over here that are doing something completely different, and fuck it, we can take what they're doing over there and apply it to what we're doing over here. Like we'd be like no one else.
I think the think tank and the fellowship, for me, the biggest part of that, of the togetherness side, is that you're surrounded by people that don't see any barriers, who are like-minded, but actually don't see that. I can't do that. There's no can't. We strive for doing the best we can. And absolutely, different industries you learn from. I mean, I remember going to a lecture once, and it was by some marketing guys. It was a few years ago now. And their philosophy was that, if you're an accountant and you want to go and do some video blogging or do something on there, most people will go and find another accountant that's doing video blogging and copy them. And you don't, not to do that. It's go find the best video blogger in the world. He's got, say, 50 million followers, and then copy them, because they're the ones that are successful in it, And the reality is that's what you get out of the room. You get the people who, who share their successes, and you integrate, you sort of interrogate where that success has come from, and they talk about all the automation and different things they've done, and you realise that actually that works in your industry, and as long as it doesn't cause any regulatory issues, you're definitely looking at things and saying, actually, my mind is so open to new ideas now. Because every time we have a think tank, there's new ideas, there's someone implemented some new system or new automation, and it absolutely gives you that kind of mindset that you can achieve anything.
It's cool, Stephen. And as I said, you take that knowledge and you're an awesome contributor in that in terms of like what people can soak up from you as well. It's just absolutely awesome environment. And Steve, I'm gonna wrap this thing up with one last question. I mean, in terms of what you guys have had like phenomenal growth over like the last 3 years. I mean, what does sort of like the next 12 months look like for you, Steve? Where's this thing going? What are you going to take it to, and how's that going to look?
Okay, so certainly our plan is for this to intensify and not slow down. So certainly we're working at the moment on me coming out of the business a little bit more. So the management team taking on more responsibility, and certainly then enabling me to focus on perhaps sales and marketing, which is, I know, part of the things we've worked on with yourselves, and that maybe that's took a little bit longer than we planned to do, but certainly. We've now got the infrastructure in from sort of April for that to really be a reality. And for me, it's then trying to drive this business. Now we've created efficiencies as well. There's really no stopping us, and because we've got such a strong message about our culture, we've already got people who are sort of knocking the door to come and work for us. And really, we want that to intensify as well. We really want to get out there and market our culture and what we're all about, so that really, when we need people, they're already sort of standing by, ready for the call. So I really see us sort of ramping up and perhaps doubling in size in the next 18 months to 2 years. And certainly that's really achievable. And the growth we've had to date has purely come out of the client base and the contacts. So we've not really invested heavily in marketing and sales. So we've grown at about £150,000 a year in turnover. If we actually so we should continue to grow by that anyway. If we then put a sales and marketing strategy in there and actually start to look for leads and look for new work, that can be even more meteoric and more powerful than it is at the moment. So we're really positive about the next sort of 18 months, 2 years, and we really want to put Sempra really on the map. We've kind of kept ourselves a bit of a hidden secret in the last but really it's time to sort of sing and shout now, and we're really ready to do that. So I'm really excited by the prospect of the next couple of years and more years to come, really. So
well, that's awesome, Stephen. It's awesome having you part of like the fellowship community here. Awesome to see what you've done. Really excited to see how it goes. I think the big takeaway there from me, from literally what you just said, in terms of how fast you've grown this thing and how you still manage to attract clients without the sales and without the marketing, by simply focusing on going, right, we need to make this machine as efficient as possible. We need to have the culture in place. We've got to have the systems. We've got to be able to take the control back, because once you've got the control back, you then plug the sales and the marketing thing, and this thing explodes. So it's really cool in terms of like what typically people would be like sales, and go, actually, no, if we get the efficiencies, the systems, the process, we bring the control back in, you then layer that on that core foundation. And it's really exciting, Steve, and loads of takeaways, I think, there from everyone. So I just want to say thank you for joining us today. It's been great. I can't wait to get the thing out there, and thank you ever so much for your time. And I can't wait to see what the next 12 months, the next 3 years, the next 10 years looks like, Steve. Very exciting. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Cheers, Steve.
Cheers, Charlie. Bye-bye.